Welcome to the Sideload, where we're maximizing our quarterly revenue by any means necessary. I'm your host, Will Sattelberg, and this week I am once again joined by 9 to 5 Google's own Andrew Romero as we become smartphone solvers. We've put our consultant hats on to help out the flagship lineups of every North American Android brand at no additional cost. It's a long episode, so let's skip out the rest of the banter and just get right to my chat with Andrew after this message from our sponsor. You know when you connect to a public Wi-Fi network and your computer asks if you trust this network? The correct answer should be absolutely not. Airports, hotels, and coffee shops are convenient places to find Wi-Fi, but they're also the easiest place for your data to get watched, intercepted, or quietly scraped. NordVPN helps fix that by encrypting your internet traffic so what you're doing online isn't just floating around the network. With over 9,000 VPN servers covering more than 188 locations, it's built to stay fast, so you're not stuck choosing between security and a usable connection. Plus, it comes with features that actually matter to your day-to-day life, including threat protection to block malicious sites and trackers, and a built-in kill switch that helps prevent accidental leaks should your VPN connection drop. If you want to stop risking your data on public Wi-Fi, you can save up to 77% on a 2-year subscription, plus score 4 extra months just by going to nordvpn.com/9to5off and signing up for a 2-year subscription. That's nordvpn.com/9to5off to claim this offer. Joining me today is a returning guest. It is 9 to 5 Google's own Andrew Romero. Andrew, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. If the allergies would cease.
You and me both, brother.
Take a break. I'd be better, but it is what it is.
I as I told you in the pre-show, I think it has been like almost exactly 2 months since I was 100% healthy. Like it has been a long 2 months of just up and down being sick. And the allergies are the latest addition just to throw on the pile to make me not feel so good.
Yeah, that'll knock you back.
Andrew, you have joined me today to we're gonna be smartphone fixers. We're gonna be smartphone lineup fixers. We're gonna be consultants to North American phone companies because this was actually an idea I had inspired by our first one of the earliest rumors we've had about the Galaxy S27, which is that Samsung is trying its hand at this Pro idea. Again, we had heard rumors about that leading up to the launch of the Galaxy S26, but of course that lineup kind of melted down a few months before it was eventually unveiled, and what we ended up getting was a much more standard, expected series of smartphones. But it sounds like Samsung is leaning again into this idea of trying to have a smaller flagship-esque, and we'll talk about the iPhone comparison, but the iPhone 17 Pro to the Ultra's Pro Max. Do you know what I mean? Samsung clearly wants to shake up its lineup in some interesting ways, some Apple related ways in many cases. And that kind of gave me the idea to have you come on board and we can sort of dissect the flagship lineups of the North American smartphone brands. So that's Samsung, Google, Motorola, OnePlus, nothing, and then a bonus Apple round at the end. I thought would be fun. Yeah. So I mean, let's just get into it. And let's start with Samsung since that inspired this entire idea that I've had. Samsung is unique in that it is the only company that we're going to cover today that kind of has 2 flagship lineups in the S series and the Z series. So let's start with the S, right? That is as of right now, the Galaxy S26, 26 Plus, and 26 Ultra. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be, we're looking, I guess you could argue the S25 Edge is still around. The S27 Pro, it's just so slim I can't see it. It's like Paper Mario. It just turns 90 degrees. You can't see it anymore. I think we should kind of also use the S27 rumors in this to sort of look at this. But what is your take on Samsung's current like S series lineup? Like what needs strengthening, what needs some work? Maybe you want to kill off a model, maybe you want to put a new model in. If you are consulting with Samsung on the next lineup, what does that look like?
I'm a little torn. And when I was thinking about this, I couldn't decide between, do I want to completely axe what they have and reduce, simplify things?
Yeah.
Or do they need to do more and diversify a little more? Which, now that I say that, that sounds ridiculous, because we have the Z series, right? Which consists currently of 3 phones. You have the flip, fold, and then the trifold.
Right.
As limited as that is.
Trifolds and the Edge, say what you will about the Edge. The trifold has been officially discontinued in a way the Edge has not yet. So,
right. That's no longer, if you can get your hands on it, that's great. Not to say that there won't be more of them, because obviously,
the rumor is they'll do another one, and who's to say about the Edge?
But that's the thing, is that you could say that about any of their phones. So it sounds like they're not really dropping anything. The Edge only was dropped because people weren't buying it, right?
Right.
So that would have made 4 devices within the S series, right? If I'm counting right, that's a stacked lineup, and not necessarily in a great way, because obviously one of them was a failed design. Or at least it didn't meet the needs of users in the Edge. You gave up battery life, usability. You couldn't do anything without bringing a battery with you, essentially. Where am I thinking of? That was kind of the iPhone's problem as well.
Right.
And then you also have this base model in the S26. And what they did...
This is currently still my daily driver at the moment.
But that's the thing, is it's a good phone. Yeah. And then the bottom tier of the S and then the top tier of the S, those are good phones. But what you have in the middle is this familiar middle ground that didn't make any changes. It didn't do anything for anybody. It was more expensive. It didn't change. It didn't offer anything for that trade in the upped price. Right. And it was a rushed job. And then you have the Ultra, which, more modernized, sharper, rounder. It changes its design a little bit.
The display, which, depending on what side of the debate you fall on, is either a downgrade for a feature you won't use, or a small downgrade for a feature you think is really cool. It's still a very good display, but that is built into it. But the Ultra, you can see the logic of the advancements of the Ultra this year, and we are, of course, the S26 Plus is the elephant in the room. I do agree with you.
Well, compared to the Edge, I think.
Well, yeah.
Jokes aside, I just spent the past probably 2 weeks using the Ultra as my daily driver. And I don't know, I was left wanting so much more out of my experience, because in my head, I hype up the Ultra phone like, okay, the S26 Ultra is going to be, a really good phone, really capable. And then every year I'm just a little bit disappointed, because even though it has the raw power of the best processor it can, it's got the memory to back up what it needs to give you a good experience. Something there is a roadblock for a lot of that. So you're getting like this trickle down performance, essentially, it feels like sometimes. And it's still good, like 99% of the time, but it was little things like in the haptics. I had issues. Like I don't know why, but this year I was really bothered by the haptics and compared to like the Pixel, or even just touch recognition. I was having a hard time, like just from lock screen to open to getting to where I needed to go navigating. I was having issues. But beyond that, right, the S26 series has become this mishmash of like, on paper it's really good, but in reality, like the grand scale, what are we doing? Like my main thing now has become, I want magnets. I want magnets everywhere. I want magnets to the back of any phone I can get it, because it's become such a good thing, a good experience in the Pixel lineup. Is I have, not only is it I'm going to put on a case on it anyways, but the magnets are stronger, my alignment's better, and the charging's better because
so much better.
And which normally you can't say that about the Pixel lineup, but it feels like this year, less so.
No, you definitely can. This year,
the experience in like charging and getting powered up and ready to go has been better than the Ultra, because every time I wirelessly charge the S26 Ultra, I feel like I'm losing time. I'm like, okay, well, I just need to plug it in. With the Pixel, I was like, I can plug it into one of my Qi 2 chargers, and it's not like super fast, but it's redeemable. Like it's usable. It's not a burden.
And it's also it's mindless, right? Like
right.
I think that's my frustration with Samsung, like just dragging its feet on built-in Qi 2 and being like, just use a case. Where I'm like, okay, but like again, this is what I'm using at the moment, right? I quite like, one of the things I like, in fact, probably the thing I like the most about this device is that it is significantly slimmer and lighter than the Pixel 10 that I'm coming from, or even the 10A that I actually came off like directly. I don't want to put a case on it. That kind of ruins what I like about this phone, about using this phone, if I slap a case on it. But genuinely, I have had because I've gotten so used to, many months of the Pixel 10 being my daily driver, that I have gone to slap the S26 on magnetic charging devices, or like, pucks, or there's a magnetic charging stand on my desk that I have like 3 or 4 times now went to put the S26 on and been like, it doesn't work.
I've done the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's like a feature. It's so funny. So I was long tangent, but isn't it always? Maddie and I were catching up on the Defunct Land video, the most recent Defunct Land video from a few months ago on the Living Animatronics project that Disney did. It's like a 4-hour video. We watched it like a mini series. It was great. It's highly recommend. At one point, the host, the creator behind those videos, makes a reference to like failed product announcements products that were announced and then never came to market. And the 2-second clip that was used was of Apple debuting AirPower, right? The mat that would be like, just throw it wherever,
right?
And it'll charge, and it never shipped. And like, we've seen a couple companies like try to do similar things, but like, largely speaking, it's like not quite worth the expense. And like, I was thinking about the timing of that, because that's 2019, and it doesn't take, I think it's the next iPhone after this that launches with MagSafe, right? That eventually becomes Qi 2. I do kind of wonder if the failure of AirPower to work gave us, like, kind of directly led to Qi 2 and this like rise of magnetic charging and magnetic accessories. And if so, what a great, like, so much more useful than the idea of like one mat that can kind of charge whatever you need to throw on it. Like, as opposed to being like, no, like stability and accessories and all of this stuff. Like, what a great trade up. And you can see it on the Pixel now, right? Where it's like, no, I love having the ability to just like slap a wallet on the back of this phone, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, for Samsung, it's like, guys, this would be, you have so many people complaining about how you don't change anything year after year after year. How somebody moving from the S22 Ultra to the S26 Ultra is not really having that like grand, it's still, a few years, like 10 years ago, that probably would have been like 1 or 2 generations, not 4. And for them to like avoid what was, in my opinion, was an easy layup to be like, and we added magnetic charging, you're welcome, nerds. I don't know, man. I it's been a month or whatever, and month and a half, and I've been thinking about like, it's just such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and I've seen some recent reports that I can't remember where I saw it, but it was essentially saying that, and take this with a grain of salt because I didn't, figure out where it actually came from, but it was saying that Samsung's happy with where it's at. It's happy with its right. I think it was specifically saying the camera array setup, happy with that. It's design because it's its core language. And that,
I'm working on an editorial about that at the moment that I think that might actually be up before this goes up because
I'm waiting for that to come out because I want to see the fallout but I agree with you. There's so much wrong with how the camera is set up. The fact that all of these case manufacturers everyone's begging them to put magnets in because that's what they do now. All of their designs are like, okay, well, a magnet goes here. So if we're going to make this for an iPhone, we're going to make this for a Galaxy device. And that's just, it's fine to do that. And then you get the phone and you try to stick one of your existing accessories. Let's say you don't even buy a new one. You just have one because you already had MagSafe somewhere else. You try to slap a wallet on it. Doesn't fit. Okay, well, maybe this wallet's just too big.
Or it covers a camera or something, right?
Right. It's so in that case, it's wobbly. It's not making an actual connection.
Exactly.
The felt on the back or rubber on the back isn't actually doing its job because it's not flush and you can't get the friction you need. Okay, we'll say the wallet doesn't work. Well, maybe my stand works or my car mount. And I have a square, I have the Peak Design MagSafe mount in my car. I tried to put it on, doesn't work because it's square. It's not a circle. And because it cuts over right into where that camera is. So, but you can turn it like 37 degrees and it'll get just right. But guess what? It doesn't charge anymore because it's not in the right spot. So there's no point to having all the accessories that I have. It's not even like I bought into this proprietary, like, let's say I only ever had Xbox games and now I want to buy a PS5, right? Or maybe if a PS6
or even
comes
like
out
to stick with charging, you're not coming from an iPhone being like, why don't my lightning cables work? Like you're like, no, like the technology here, like, MagSafe is sort of, but not really. Like MagSafe is Qi 2 there is a relationship there that is real and tangible,
Qi 2
like
in a different color. That's all.
Exactly. It's like those are interchangeable essentially, and it's just like that ecosystem is there, man.
But why was that done? Right. The consortium put this together because everyone already had MagSafe stuff. So let's just make that stuff work in this Android sphere. And that's great. That was a fantastic idea. That was a fantastic move there.
Yeah.
It was great for Apple to not, I don't know if they went after them or anything for that. It was just all around, it worked, right? And it still does. But Samsung is essentially saying, but I don't want to. I like my long camera,
Well, and it's like, okay, you think this identifies you, and we're way off on a tangent now, but that's fine. You're like, it's like,
it's
you
a
think
problem
this identifies
with the whole lineup, though.
It's a problem with the lineup
into the Z series.
It does.
As well.
No, it 100% does. It's like, okay, so you see this as people see the vertical camera lineup, and it's iconic in the way that the Pixel camera bar is iconic or whatever, which I would disagree with because I have an iPhone on my desk as well, which also has it's not a Pro, so it also has a vertical camera lineup, 2 lenses, not 3, but whatever. There are, and to be fair to Pixel, and maybe I'm being too harsh on Samsung, there are people who have, including Apple, who have copied, the Pixel's camera bar lineup, and I'm not giving them credit for it either. So I shouldn't give. I think I believe Samsung had vertical camera layouts before Apple did. So that is a case of Apple kind of using that. Apple put the vertical cameras in because they wanted it to be for 3D video, right? Like, wasn't that the whole reason they moved away from the diagonal layout?
That came around right when LiDAR came out, right? Around
well, and it was the vision. It was the vision. They wanted you to be able to. They wanted every iPhone to be able to shoot footage for the Vision Pro, which is why the older iPhone 14 has a square module with two diagonal lenses, and now it's vertical one after another on the standard iPhone. And so there is a reason you can buy into it or not. The Vision Pro is obviously not a big success anyway, but it's okay. Samsung does use the triple lens layout in its marketing a lot, especially in the lead up to a Galaxy Unpacked. So I believe that the company sees it as a recognizable identifier of its phones. However, I would argue it's like the most generic, like there is no actual flash to it that would separate it from like just like kind of the generic idea of a smartphone in anybody's head. And also it is like, as we're saying, it is like a bad design. It screws up the ability to use magnetic accessories, and these phones wobble like no other device. Like a problem that would go away if they switched to a horizontal camera bar layout that would free up space, and it would for magnets, and it would allow the phone to sit, it would be at an angle, but it wouldn't rock back and forth while you're trying to type on a desk or something. Like, there are such obvious benefits to them rethinking their camera layout, and for them to be like, not only do we think it's good, but we think it's our brand. I'm like, okay, well, that's really disappointing.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're in a period of time where we're seeing a lot of companies shift in a very specific direction. Now that it's a bigger thing with Qi 2, companies are planning on adopting that. Hopefully more do. But Samsung, it feels like they're being Qi agnostic in the magnetic aspect of it. And that's fine. But I feel like people are going to complain about it or quietly just move over to something that is more accessible.
Right.
I don't know. Beyond that, there's other changes, but I feel like it's become boring because it just feels like it's the same thing over and over again. And also, it's getting more complicated. To circle back to that, I mean, with the Pro now, the rumors about that, we're adding a fourth phone to...
Well, okay, so maybe this is a good place to wrap up Samsung, because let me pitch you my vision for what their next lineup should be.
Okay.
Because I'm going to address exactly this. So building off those Pro rumors, I think the next lineup of the Galaxy S27 lineup should be the S27 at it should be $800, but we're at $900 now. So let's say $900 for a starting 256 gigabyte configuration. The S27 Pro, which would be, let's say $1,100. I'm not factoring in RAM price hikes here. It's too difficult. And then the S27 Ultra at $1,300 or whatever. And the Plus should be dead. If you want, if you want the Pro to have a slightly, no, it shouldn't. The Pro should be the same size as the regular S26, which is not a small phone, I would argue anyway. And if you want the bigger screen, jump up to the S27 Ultra. It's right there or whatever. But that's what I just like. The Plus, there's no reason for the Plus to exist. And honestly, I'd rather see them launch an S27 Edge over an S27 Plus. At least that has something different going for it.
Yeah, I think I could see that, but we could also do, S27 Edge being kind of like the base model, because you're already sacrificing so much. Maybe it does go up in price a little bit, but it becomes the standard, like, okay, well, I'm giving up what I want to give up for this size. Also, I don't need that stuff. And then the S27 Pro is the same size, thicker, but it has all the big specs. Then the Ultra
more
has
cameras, blah, blah, blah. But then the Ultra it's basically an Ultra, a smaller Ultra with no S Pen. Right. Is my vision. Right.
And that feels like a really good either or. Mine or yours feels like much better than the
what they're doing now.
The Pollock-esque painting that's happening in Samsung's lineup.
Exactly.
It's like, it's just they're splattering whatever they can get there.
That's Edge as base model is an interesting idea, because what you could do is actually kill off the FE line, which is already bleeding into, $700 or whatever.
Is it really FE? I mean, it's becoming the base of years ago.
Exactly. So get away with the staggered release schedule. Have 4 Galaxy S models and have the S27 be like a $700 device that maybe, is a little bit closer, is like a cross between the current, S26 and what the FE series usually does.
But you can still call it a flagship because of that, right? Like
right.
It's still in the 3 category of the more expensive.
Maybe you use, since Qualcomm is kind of splitting up, maybe that phone uses the Snapdragon, and I'm going to use this year's models, but it uses a Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 as opposed to the 8 Elite Gen 5.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody paying $700 for this phone is going to care. Like I wouldn't care personally. I don't need the raw horsepower of the 8 Elite Gen 5. I never felt like I pushed the 8 Elite to its max.
Yeah.
And then you could have the Edge Pro Ultra. I think that would be interesting.
I forgot. I forgot about the FE series too. That's crazy. So that makes five phones, right?
Well, just ditch the FE. Just ditch the FE and make that the standard model. Essentially, make it a little smaller and make it the standard model, and you don't have to worry about launching later in the year. You have these 4 models. They all kind of actually have their own identity, as opposed to right now where you're like, what is the Plus? Like, what are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're more expensive, but why?
Exactly.
We know why, but it's frustrating. I don't know. It's becoming so saturated, their lineup, it feels like. And then we haven't even touched on the foldables, let's do it. That's okay. Yeah. Sure.
Well, here's the good news. I think it's really easy. I actually think the Z series is in a pretty good spot. And I would say that the wide foldable only strengthens it. I think I'm ignoring the trifold. That's like a weird experiment that they're going to like. It's never going to be cheap enough.
It's not going to be an experiment anymore.
It's maybe experiment's the wrong word. Maybe it's like, it is just for like the enthusiasts of enthusiasts, right? Like it's
the party trick phone.
It's the Mac Pro or whatever, which I know they just killed, but you know what I mean? It's like the device that it exists for like road warrior power users who are willing to pay any dollar amount to pack all of their devices into one pocketable thing. Like they're going to keep but it's sort of its own thing. So let's set it off to the side. I think the only weak spot in the Z series right now, and looking forward to the wide fold, which I'm genuinely excited about, is the Flip FE, which is another phone I bet you forgot existed.
I did forget about it. It's funny because I just wrote a post this morning about because we just saw renders of the Flip 8. Yes. And after that went out, I was like, oh yeah, the FE, we haven't seen anything about like an 8 FE. Why? I don't know. That's the thing. That's my question.
The pricing on that thing was all screwed up to begin with. I mean, it was supposed to be like a Razer competitor, and Razer they didn't match the Razer's price, and then you were still better off using the Razer. Like it didn't make any sense. I think I remember being like, when they announced that phone last year, I was like, with the pricing, I was like, this is for nobody. You're literally just go buy a Flip 6 at that point. Like you could probably find it cheaper. So yeah, I mean, and it was just in black and white, and instead of the fun colors that the Flip is usually associated with. It's just a misfire. Kill it, or actually do it right and have it be a true budget clamshell phone that is like $700 or cheaper. But if you can't do that, then ditch it. It shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it feels more like next to what the base should be.
Yeah.
It should be that price range, and that's what we thought for the longest time. It's like, oh well, hinges are going to get, the components are going to get less expensive, and it's going to be easier to make foldables.
And they did.
But
everything's super cheap now.
It's been offset by the craziness of everything right now in terms of memory. That's it.
Oh, did something happen
recently? Yes and no.
No.
Always.
Yes and no. Yeah.
I agree with you though. I think the wide fold is a good move. Trifold's out there. It's a eccentric whatever. It's funny because we never came down in these prices for foldables, it feels like. And the thinking was like, okay, those will come down, and then the trifolds will also like go down to what the folds used to be in pricing wise. And now it's just jumped up a little bit, all of them.
Yep.
And what are we at? We're at, $2,000+ phones, and it's it is very much a power user thing, but also it's like,
oh yeah,
if you want a brick in your pocket and you are like a hard Dex user.
I really do think that like the wide fold might answer a lot of my complaints about current gen foldables. And so like, I am curious to see, I want to get my hands on one of those and then see if it sort of fixes.
I want to see what their, like. I'm excited for the idea of their wide fold because it'll be what the Pixel Fold original was, the Find N2 was, but with hardware that's closer, hopefully, to what the Fold 7 has.
Yes.
More refined, thinner,
yes,
a little bit boxier, but also
and a better
bezels.
The inner display of the original Pixel Fold, because it had mismatched bezels, was still the same aspect ratio as what Samsung was doing at the time. It was just turned 90 degrees. Mm-hmm. This will actually have it's either 16:10 or 4:3, which are very similar, but it will have a different aspect ratio than what we've seen on at least Samsung foldables before. That will be very media, or much more media friendly than anything Samsung or Google has put out in the last couple of years.
That's the problem that we saw with, the original Fold. It's like, okay, well, it's a good design and it feels comfortable to hold, but also, we don't have a lot of third-party apps and a lot of first-party apps that were optimized for that aspect ratio. Now it's easier, Android's made changes to the tablet mode, which goes into mobile Android and makes it just a better overall experience. But yeah, I think that'll be a good addition. Discounting price and every other detail, it's all just conjecture.
100%.
But
also, I just like the idea of a squarish phone again, because that was one of my favorite things about the Pixel Fold. A phone I did not like very much, but one of my favorite things about it was it's like the book, or like how it felt when it was closed. Like, that, I don't know.
But
I really
we moved
liked
on because
holding it. Well, I didn't like holding it. It was heavy, but I liked the idea.
We moved on because they got light. Other things got lighter. I mean, we had other options, not really in, that aspect ratio, that size. Yeah. But yeah, it was like it was the brickest of all phones that we had at the time. It was thick. So hopefully
280 something grams. That thing was heavy, man.
Hopefully we kind of revert and go back to, but I think a lot of this has been Samsung testing the waters.
I agree. Yeah.
And then, they were quick to take away the edge, which it could have been longer with that. Maybe that kind of signals like they're really just testing, see what sticks. And then if it fails a little bit, then just abandon it. Let's move on to something else.
I never felt like their heart was in it, because I didn't see, and this is also true of Apple, to be honest with you. I have not, like, I watched a lot of football from September to, January, let's say, because
that's when football is. Yeah.
Exactly. But like, I'm saying, you son of a bitch. I'm saying over 5 months of watching not just every Bills game, but like most games in a week. I didn't see a single Galaxy S25 Edge ad. I've never seen an S25 Edge ad. I don't think I've seen an iPhone Air ad either. Maybe one or two, but like most of the iPhone ads were pushing the Pro this year. And I've truly not seen an S25 Edge ad. And so when they were like, it failed, we're killing it, I'm like, yeah, guys, I don't think anybody outside of this industry knew it existed.
Yeah.
Like, even if people did want it, they didn't know it existed. And I don't think people want it, but
you could make the argument that they didn't want to advertise it as much because it wasn't going to make a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
But also, it's kind of a niche device, but so was the Flip series for a while.
Right.
And we see ads for that, or at least I see ads for that. Used to, a lot of them. And that's not necessarily the phone for me, but I know a subset of people who are like, would want to buy it.
The Fold too, to be honest with, like any of the foldables at all, like are a similar niche to the Edge, but it felt like it's so funny. The Edge and the wide fold are both attempts by Samsung to look at what Apple's doing and launch a competitor ahead of time. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And it's the HR meme. I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna edit a video, or I'm gonna edit a meme of this and put it in the video. But it's the S25 Edge is the creep that the woman is calling HR on, and the wide foldable is the suave guy who's like, hey, how are you doing? 100%, 100%. I can't tell you why that's what it is, but that's what it is. And that's where we're leaving this discussion. I'm not even letting you respond to it.
That's fine.
Google. Google, the Pixel 10, we've seen every Pixel 11 leak. They are the same.
Yeah.
So I hope you like,
they are.
I hope you like the Pixel 10 because you're getting, I hope you liked the Pixel 9 because you're getting, if this was a Final Fantasy series, it would be Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, which is, I think, the only third Final Fantasy game. Don't know why my brain went there. Like I said, I've been sick. Okay. My only complaint about the Pixel, which I actually think the Pixel series is fairly strong right now in terms of its lineup. I think every model sort of immediately serves or is immediately apparent what its market goal is. Like I can see why the 10A, the 10, the 10 Pro, and the 10 Pro Max exist. And I would argue the 10 Pro is still the one that you could make an argument. Well, you could make an argument that like the 10 or the 10 Pro could go, one or the other could go. But I do kind of like having both. I think in the price difference is not grand enough that I do think you sort of get $200 worth of value out of that upgrade. So my one big thing, and then I'll hand it over to you. They got to raise the Pixel storage up to 256 gigabytes. And the rumor is that they're not doing that. And I think that is crazy. I think people are really going to start getting annoyed about AI Core, like more than they already are. Regular users are going to like start being like, why is this random like AI thing eating up 7 to 10 gigabytes of my already very limited storage on this base model Pixel? I don't want, like, can I uninstall it? And Google settings go, yes, you can. You'll lose all of the local AI stuff, but yeah, and people will do it. Like, I genuinely, if Google wants this to be an AI phone, a local AI phone, you got to move to 256. That's my one fix.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard now. It is the standard, and it needs to have moved a while ago, I think, because you can't even buy a hard drive. You can't even buy a hard drive for 100 and I'm blanking on, it's 128, right? It's always been 128.
Yeah.
It's prime. Oh.
is the smallest hard drive one can?
Smallest hard drive.
Am I buying an SSD?
Can
SSD.
you buy something in megabytes anymore?
Can I buy an SSD right now?
I see.
Can
I buy a floppy disk? I can buy a floppy disk. I can always buy a floppy disk.
Andrew, do you remember when I was telling you about the 990, the 2 terabyte 990 Pro that I bought back at the end of September that I think I got for like 160 or 170 bucks or something, and it had gone up to $400. Do you want to know what it is now?
No, don't do it. How much is it?
This is ships from Amazon, but is not sold by Amazon. It is from a third party seller.
Is it Prime?
It is Prime.
Okay, so that nullifies.
And I can get it overnight, so it's near me.
Yeah.
$640.
Yeah, I stocked out.
That's a third of that. That's like a third of what my entire computer build was. That's more than the fucking graphics card.
The only time I've gone into a Staples within the last like 10 years was recently because someone posted on Reddit that they were selling SSDs for like a normal price. Which was like, it was like $75 for.
Nobody had checked out Staples to be like, did they sell hard drives?
Yeah, I was like, they sell. I didn't know. I thought it was just folders. They sell everything now, by the way. They're like a grocery store now. 128 gigabytes. All right. This has been the standard for as long, not as long as I can remember. like, let's say 7 years. That's my
I was gonna say the jump up from 64 was it's been
it was a long time ago. What was that, like iPhone 5?
I'm looking up the Pixel 6, which turns 5 this year, to see what it shipped at. It shipped at 128 gigabytes. Guys,
okay,
it's time. Like, it's time.
I was wrong. I totally misremembered. iPhone 5 shipped with 16 gigs as the standard.
You're too far.
I'm way too far back.
With that one. Yeah,
its max was 64. So, but you know, in comparison,
here, the Pixel 5 jumped to 128. The Pixel 4 started at 64. The Pixel 5, which was a mid-range phone,
that's still
jumped
very
to
long
128.
ago.
It's COVID. It's almost 6 years ago.
So anyways, we've been here for what feels like forever, because COVID was 7 years, and now we're not moving into 256 as the standard, and we're late to that, at least for a lot of these companies. I think Google kind of needs to force it, even if it's going to hurt their bottom line, especially with everything happening right now.
Right.
Again, prices of everything.
Well, do you want this to be the AI phone? Great. Then you need to move to 256. Like, that's just where I'm at. And like, Samsung has done it. Now, they issued a $100 price hike to it, so they really mostly just killed off the 128 gigabyte option.
Right.
But they did it. Apple did it the right way, which is just the iPhone 17 just bumped to 256 while sticking at $800. Google should do that. Like, they have the market cap to do it. They should do it. And you know, again, it fuels their own. It's not just like a pro consumer move. It also fuels their own ambitions for the future. So like, I see it as a win-win. They should just bite the bullet and be like, you know, yes, it's going to cost us more to make this Pixel now, but we can keep it at $800. We do 256, and we hope that eventually storage prices go back to normal, and that this is like a win for our dream of this being the AI phone.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I think the rest of it's in a good spot.
I agree. Yeah.
How do you feel
about... I want a
about...
clamshell. That's it. That's all. That's my only other note that I have written down. Okay. I want a clamshell.
I didn't expect that.
I just want to see them do it. I really like the concept of clamshells, but I have not really like, save for the 2023 Razr Plus, which was kind of like, you know, it was my first clamshell. It was also the first one with like a big outer display. I loved that phone. It had a lot of problems. I wouldn't say I've like fallen head over heels with a clamshell since, and they are not. But you know, both Samsung and Motorola are not rocking the boat on their design. They've sort of locked down into the same core thing every year, and so I would love to see Google come out and be like, we have a different idea on how to do this, or we even just have like a fresher design that more matches the Pixel aesthetic. And then I would also get all of the Pixel software enhancements that I am drawn to on Pixel phones. And so I'd love to see them try a clamshell even as a one-off. But like, you know, I was kind of pulling at straws, I guess, on looking for. I do think Google is in a pretty good spot with its lineup at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, if I let's change everything about everything if that's what we're gonna do, is my thing.
Right.
But I kind of kept it simple just because I liked where it is. You know, I the price points are reasonable.
Yeah, they feel correct.
Right. Even with the configurations, there's essentially 3 main devices, which is fine. But they're very clear defining lines between each one. And then you have the foldable, which I went back to that before the S26 Ultra.
Yeah.
For a few months, and I was back on that, and I liked it, but I realized recently I haven't prioritized a foldable in my own brain as much as I used to. Like I used to want it more and use it more because I I was like, oh, well, I can get a bigger display on web pages. I can do more apps in full screen. It was just easier to use around. And now recently I just haven't put any weight to that in my brain. So I haven't actually opened my Fold a lot, even though I've been using it a lot.
Right.
You know, but, and then the other issue I had with it was the display is not as good and it's noticeable for me.
Yeah.
And that's brought me back to my Pro XL just because it's just easier to use. There's a line where, you know, you can enable the highest resolution, or you can leave it on the resolution that it defaults to, which,
right.
I can't remember what the resolution, it's 2K, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Or is it less than 2K? Point being, it's not the highest, but it's the middle ground.
It's good.
That's fine. That is unnoticeable in daily use from that to the next step. It really doesn't make a huge difference for most people. If you really want it, that's fine. Sacrifice some battery for it. With the Pro Fold, I was actively noticing that lower resolution. And it wasn't even like I was looking for it. It was just, hey, this looks a little bit
fuzzy,
crispier, but not in a good way. Like things had more definable edges that they weren't supposed to.
Right.
So that's what made me switch back to the Pro XL recently, because I was like, you know, I think it's I'm having a better experience with just a slab phone.
Well, and that's why I'm excited for the wide fold from Samsung, because, you know, outside of web browsing or side-by-side apps, I think most people are probably just better suited with a slab phone compared to the current, like, 1:1 aspect ratio. Like and I've talked about this on the show many times. It's nothing new, but like, I do really think that, like, the fact that, you know, watching a movie on any current foldable right now does not really grant you a larger display. It's like,
or a great experience, negligibly
larger. It's you know, we're talking like probably 5% compared to something like the Pixel 10 Pro XL. Like, you can get the same kind, like, if you're traveling on a plane, you're not getting any extra real estate by propping up your 10 Pro Fold, you know, on the seat behind you or in front of you, compared to a slab phone. And so why pay $1,800 for it? At the very least, the wide fold will present a different option for somebody who is looking for media and content consumption and so on. And so I'm curious to see where that goes, because again, while I think the current folds have their place in their design, it is like very specifically designed for web browsing and for side-by-side apps are its two best.
Yeah, that was the main thing for me, was just multitasking. It was like, okay, if I can use this device and multitask, that's great. And especially with the you know, updates coming soon. It's currently in beta, but it'll come with 17 is the new bubbles, but not bubbles. That feels like a better experience. I'll probably switch back to that. But I that's not to say I don't like the Pro Fold, because I do. And I think it's a good addition to the lineup. Because it's not trying to be anything it's not, but also it brings the software prowess that the other devices in the same lineup do. You know, and that's become the main thing for me, is the things I can do with the Pixel. The, you know, Magic Q has been actually extremely helpful as of late. You know, it wasn't when in August, in a couple months after that, when it released, you know, Magic Q was like, okay, it's, you know, we see it here
I had
and there,
written it off, to be honest. And
you didn't really notice it.
You know, coming from the Pixel 10a, which I believe Magic Q is one of the 2 or 3 things it doesn't have. And then I reviewed that phone. I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. And then obviously I'm on the S26 now, which has its own alternative if you're willing to
use
Samsung put Samsung keyboard on your,
which
I'm not
had
doing
a
that.
fight with myself. It took me days to just say and be honest with myself and sit down and say, okay, I need to switch back to Gboard.
I appreciate, you know, you trying to put the time in, you know, past and future guest Joe Mari
to believe
loves Joe Maring he's written at least one, if not two articles about like trying to make do with the Samsung keyboard. And all that becomes is anytime he's texting me, I cannot tell what he's saying because it just comes through as complete gibberish. I'm lucky if it's like awkward autocorrects. It's usually just like, it looks like somebody mashing on a keyboard.
Yeah.
And
that's what it feels like too.
To me, I'm like, look, I understand that like this is the out of the box experience and that lots of people in the same way that Samsung users tend to stick to like your average Samsung user probably has 3 virtual buttons on their phone and isn't using gestures because that's the default or was the default for so long. I think maybe now it's not.
I don't think it is. But yeah, it was for.
I can't remember. I feel like I vaguely remember them changing that either this year or last year, but I might be making that up.
It's the 128 of features. It's the. Could be early iPhones or, same time frame or
exactly
could be Pixel 1, who knows?
I totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
We tangented back to Samsung to compare it.
I understand that like, yes, lots of people are going to use the Samsung keyboard out of the box.
Right.
And so maybe it makes sense to review the phone using that keyboard. Like one of Android's big things is customization, and unlike on iOS where you can change the keyboard but only a little bit, kind of, sort of, it's similar to the browser thing. It's very limited. You can just have whatever keyboard you want on, and I just like don't see a reason to not install Google's keyboard. It's not like I'm using some random third-party one. It's like kind of the default Android keyboard experience is the one I'm reviewing this phone with. Do you know what I mean? And for me, it's like, while if people are fine with the Samsung keyboard, by all means, but if somebody out there is like, they just picked up their first Samsung phone and they're like, what is this keyboard? Like, switch your keyboard. It's not the phone's fault. It's the keyboard. Gboard will fix your problems.
Yeah. I mean, and even then I didn't use it long enough for it to learn as much as I wanted it to about me for, why am I now? What is it called? I can't remember. I used it for forever. It's like their Now bar. It's the same kind of family. The feature that comes with the keyboard.
Now nudge.
That wasn't on the tip of my tongue at all.
That's what it is.
And I know. Okay. Anyways, no. Yeah. But you have to use Samsung keyboard, and I wasn't willing to do that after so many days. I just never got to experience what Now Nudge could be. And I wanted it to be something, and I'm sure it is for people who use Samsung keyboard and are fine with the experience. But my muscle memory is not there enough to get past the autocorrect errors and just the usability in general. But Magic Q, on the other hand, has actually come into play more recently for me a lot. And I like using it a lot. And it's just like little features like that just make me, fine with the lineup in general. Like, I think we have a good space. And it's not confusing. It doesn't overwhelm. You can easily look at a device like the Pro or the 10 or 1110 base model, and then the Pro XL, and say, okay, I want one of these. It just feels like there's clear dividing lines between each one. And the 10A is totally agreed. A great phone as well, and it really fits that that space for a lot of people.
I think Google has really nailed their lineup over the last couple of generations. Like I call me a shill if you want. I have certainly critiqued Google before on their lineup. I kind of feel like they took that feedback to heart. Not directly mine, mind you. I'm not that full of myself, but like the general feedback from consumers. Like I do think Google has listened and shaped their lineup to better match what people want. And while I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who are screaming at me right now, being like, the Pixel 6 was $600. The Pixel 7 was $600, and the base model should never have left that. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. With what phone prices are these days, I think 8, 10, 12 makes a lot of sense for that trio. And then having, the $500 Pixel 10a, which is like a totally good phone. and then the foldable at 1800 if you want, if you want that experience. I think that is like it's just enough options. It's not overwhelming. It's easy. As you said, it's easy to follow.
Yeah. And I think Samsung is kind of overdoing it right now.
Not that.
Yeah.
A little bit. Motorola is interesting because in the US, Motorola doesn't sell flagships that aren't foldables. So this is kind of just going to be us talking about the Razr series, because I believe the last Motorola slab flagship that launched in the US was in 2023. I think it was the 2023 Edge Plus, which I reviewed and quite liked, but they have not brought it back. They have not brought any of that phone's successors to the US, which is a bummer. But so we are on the eve of a new Motorola Razr lineup. Like, we have seen the leaks. It is we've seen the Razr Fold, right? Like, we know this is coming. And also I believe last year's Razr series launched in April. So we're due. It's happening. Mm-hmm. All of the leaks have presented very similarly to much of the industry, essentially spec bumps this year with no real new design trends or anything. Which I do think makes it a really good time to look at this lineup and be like, what do we want this to be? I'll let you go first on this, and then I have one big change that I would do to the Razrs.
Yeah, call me boring, but I like the two offerings, at least what we have. If I could add something, I think it would be another slab flagship. Because I think I agree with you. I've always liked Motorola's phones in general. I think they're a really good balance between, because Android has the design aspects and kind of core language of Google, right? So to incorporate that, you kind of have to add a little bit of your own flavor, and Motorola has done a good job of adapting to it without it being overwhelming or hard to use because it's so confusing and full of friction. That's why I like using Motorola's devices. I think they really struggled, though, to make a footprint in the US with slab style phones, just because it was saturated. I mean, it's still saturated, right? There are a few names that if you want a device and you go looking between those, but they found their niche with the Razr. I no idea with the Fold that could go so many different ways. But
I don't expect the Fold to be a massive success, but I don't know if Motorola does either. That feels a little bit experimental. My problem with the Fold is that it's kind of shying away from the things that I think made the Razrs successful. It's not colorful. It's in black or white. Mm-hmm. It's not,
it's also in FIFA.
Okay, fair. It's the Razr Fold is like, the Razr Fold is like, it feels like it's trying to be for a business, like for business users, right, in a boardroom, which again, like, I think, we've heard that Razr has 50, or Motorola through the Razr has 50% of the US foldable market. Like, of all foldables, the Razr series has like 150% of it, which is crazy because I don't feel like I see them out in public very often. But whatever, maybe it's a small enough market that's why.
More than Z Flips.
I do. Well, I think that's just a usability thing because Samsung has just not improved the usability of their outer screen enough to convince people to jump to that phone. Right. And on top of it, Motorola does all of these fun colors and finishes that you won't find anywhere else that makes the devices feel really unique. And it's this sense of fun that just isn't there in the Fold. And I wish they were doing at least one, because like all of the foldables are like, oh, we're for business. And I'm like, can one of you do like a fun colorway? Like one of you do one fun colorway. Doesn't even have to be a color I like, as long as it's fun. Like, all I care about. And they won't, nobody wants to do it. And I find it really frustrating. And so I'm curious to see how the Fold does. I think it's probably going to be a little overpriced for what it is and for when it's launching. Cause my other argument is that it's not bringing a ton new to the table. It's kind of just a Motorola themed.
It feels like a move of necessity more than anything else.
A little
bit,
right?
To get into where it needs to be. Testing the waters at least.
I'm very like, I'm not confused, but I have an eyebrow raised at that phone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It feels unfinished. A lot of it bit. Still. It's hard to put in this list, right? Because it doesn't feel fully baked. Just in general, their lineup. Because you have this one good phone, and then what are you sprinkling around it? A lot of question marks, essentially.
Right. So you have a billion G's, and then you have like, there's always like one edge that launches in the US that is like a mid-range device that launches at like $600, and everybody's like, why would you pay $600 for that? And then it's never above $400.
Probably actually never a bad taste in their mouth in the US, at least.
Right.
I mean that
exactly. And so it's like, okay, so I agree with you. Let's add a slab phone to the US lineup. Let's not touch the Fold, because I just don't know what to improve on that yet. The other thing they have to do, in my opinion, the $700 Razor, hopefully that price doesn't change this year, but the entry level Razor is like a fantastic deal. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, the last 2 years I've been like, people should just buy this, because I don't think the camera advancements and the performance leaps are great enough to spend, $400 to $600, $300 to $600 more than on a phone. They need to kill either the Razr Plus or the Razr Ultra. This is not a lineup that needs 3 distinct models. Last year's Razr Plus was literally the same phone as the year before in a couple new colorways. Like, the specs were identical. Nothing was changed on it. So I don't know why it existed, other than to make the $1,300 price of the Razr Ultra go down a little smoother. But one of those phones does not need to exist. And I would leave it up to, well, I'll ask you actually, Andrew, as a certified phone fixer, which of those would you pick to stick around, the Plus or the Ultra?
That one's hard. Because it is the best entry into flip devices, right? If like that's what you're going for.
Because both of those have the larger screens, which the $700 one does not.
Which we see in a lot of products in general, not just phones. It's like there's always an entry level form factor generally somewhere, and I feel like flips, foldables just don't really have that, other than the base Razr. Everyone else is doing a middle ground or Pro. The only thing is I feel like if you no matter what we've said this entire time, right? If you have a lineup without a middle ground, it almost feels like, I can see how companies would think they'll be discounted as an option because there's not enough options. Like there's no middle ground for me to okay, I'll pay a little more. I'm not going to get as much as the best, but at least it's not the cheapest one. And I know a lot of people who think that way. And without that middle ground, maybe people don't think at all about it, and they go to something else. But realistically, I think that you need to keep the quote unquote budget entry flip foldable device, because I think that's probably where they're getting a lot of interest. Because I know I can count how many people, which is one. I can count to one. I know that.
I hope you can count to one, Andrew.
We have a friend who for the longest time had the Razr, and it's not even like someone that is just submerged in this stuff as much as we 100%. Are. But it's because it was an affordable device. I mean, it did break and eventually.
It's fun and colorful, and it's different than what you're probably coming from. Like the Razr is what always gets the most attention when I'm reviewing it. Like my friends, if I'm hanging out with somebody, like if I pull the Razor out, like if somebody hasn't seen, if I'm hanging out with somebody I haven't seen in a while or something, they will be like, what is that? What's that? Can I see it? And like iPhone users especially are always like, I kind of want this
because
like,
it's
kind of like
it's
this.
Colorful. It's different. You
can immediately see. It's pocketable. I get it. Like you know what I mean. Like there's
right.
Which I don't think that appeal is inherent to book style foldables as much. I think you sort of have to use one to get whether it fits your lifestyle or not.
Yeah, I can see that. You know what I would like, and now I just thinking about it. I would love if Motorola took a page from nothing, at least their design language. It doesn't have to be exact or even close, just unique material wise, because nothing's using translucent materials with metal and refined plastic that's not like doesn't look too cheap, right? Their iconography, everything just melds really well together, right? I wish Motorola could take some of those materials and the characteristics of their phone and essentially recreate like the iconic pink Razor. It had like the sharp kind of spaceship-ish lines to it. When you opened it, it had the grill on the bottom.
Oh yeah, my first. So it wasn't the pink one, but my first phone was the Razor V3, which is exactly the design you're talking about.
Right,
just in pink.
It's iconic. You can think about it, right? If you lived during that time period, it's just,
my back pain
it.
says I did.
And I wish that I wish that Motorola could build something like that again, but take some risks in design. I know they're already doing that with, you could say they're already doing that, I guess, with the wooden backs and everything, kind of bringing back a lot of the stuff that they did with like the Moto X years ago, like the customize your own phone. Yeah. Which
one of my favorite things any phone company ever did. Frankly.
I think I bought.
It bums me out there isn't more nostalgia for Moto Maker. Like honestly, because I feel like it wasn't, obviously Motorola under Google, which is where Moto Maker was like really center of attention. It obviously didn't excel. They got rid of Motorola very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so I just feel like a lot of people didn't know it existed. Like even if they were following tech at the time or follow tech now, they didn't know it existed.
I think Android users.
I have tried so many times to write editorials or anything to make content. I hate that word. About Moto Maker to like talk about, and like nobody cares. It sucks.
I get
no
that.
one wants to read it. I think even people who like remember it are kind of like, yeah, anyway, and like just scroll past, which is fair.
The best conversations I've had about it have been with Motorola PR.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's just not. I wish people cared more about it, but like I think this is I wasted like I would, the second gen Moto X was out while I was working night desk in college, so I would have to stay up depending on my shift. Between my first shifts were like 3:30 to 7 a.m. and then my second semester shift I think was like 2 to 7 on Saturdays or something. 2 to 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and you're not doing much during that time, right? Like right. You're just not doing much, especially my first shift, because that was like, it was like 3:30 to 7 like Tuesdays and Fridays, and it was like nobody was coming over Friday morning, not into Saturday, and I wasted so much time playing around with the Moto Maker websites, like being like, I should buy a second gen Moto X. Which one should I buy? Because I was just, whatever money I was making off the job was just going to go to impulse purchases. I ended up buying a Moto 360 instead. Probably the right call. I didn't need a new phone, but I kind of regret it now. I kind of wish I had a Moto X second gen that was customized.
Well, I mean, it was a build your own phone, which wasn't really a thing, it still isn't really
before or since, I would argue.
Yeah. It's just that was a unique experience. Right. But I think you could design a Razor that looked like the original, or one of the original designs. And I'm not saying that it would be cheap, because probably not, but it would be really cool.
Though. I want tech to be fun again, right? And that is a way for it to, because it wasn't just, I mean, for people who didn't use Moto Maker, like, and we'll move off this, but it wasn't just like picking the back. It was like you could customize the color of the aluminum band around the center of it. You could customize like the button color, like there were very little like you could really make it your own and mix and match in a way that made it like
you could make the ugliest phone,
different options.
You can make the ugliest phone you've ever seen, or the best
I made
one.
Some monstrosities on that thing. Let me
I
tell
wish
you.
I could.
And you know what? It was great.
See what I made like years ago. I wish there was an
archive, like somebody rebuilt the tool just to make that. You know, you couldn't buy it, but yeah. Motorola relaunched that tool. Just let me screw around with it. I don't need to buy it. Just let me pretend I'm making a Moto X. Anyway. I would say, okay, back to the Razr. I would probably kill, this is going to be crazy. Maybe I would kill the Ultra. I would kill the $1,300 model. I don't really understand why it exists. I don't think the clamshell form factor is like particularly conducive to like gaming or anything that you would need that horsepower. The horsepower of a Snapdragon 8 Elite and soon to be 8 Elite Gen 5 compared to just the standard, you know, if the this year's Plus launches with the standard 8 Gen 5, I think you're fine on that phone. It's just not a comfortable gaming experience. If you are a heavy mobile gamer, you should look to a slab phone or a book style foldable. I would kill the most expensive one and be like, we're back to you know, Razr and Razr Plus, and we've taken the best aspects of the Ultra and moved it down to the Plus. Like, it's got a better camera or something, and maybe it's a little more expensive, but I don't think the raw horsepower is worth it for what you're paying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the subset of users that actually, you know, pick that over something else, I'd be curious to know the numbers.
I would too. It's just when I think about the Razr and the draw of it seems so centered around fun and customization that I'm kind of like, is the Ultra sort of a like non-starter for a lot of people because of its price? You know, like, can you just kind of cut 5 to 10% of the performance ceiling and still have it be good for 99% of people and have it be a little cheaper? Probably. And so that's sort of what I would, maybe that's a better way of phrasing it, is that I would combine the Plus and the Ultra back into one device.
Into the middle ground. Or
yeah, somewhere in the middle, like a little bit more premium than last year's Plus, a little bit less overkill than the Ultra. So
still 2 phones total, but
2 phones, Razr, pick your suffix. You know, like that's what it, Plus, Ultra, Max, Pro, Plus. We already did Plus. What other suffixes are there for phones?
Pro,
Elite,
Plus, Elite. Well,
yeah, I don't pick one of those. The Razr
Max, Razr Thin,
Blade,
Razr Sharp,
Razr. You can't do Razr Blade. That's a laptop. Anyway, all right. OnePlus. We're moving on. OnePlus. So the first note I have written down here is putting aside that the feature of OnePlus is, and then I just put 6 question marks. So elephant in the room. I don't know if there's a next OnePlus device, OnePlus flagship coming to the US. I don't know. Maybe not. I hope so. I hope I like it more than the 15, which I thought was a bit of a downgrade. That said, because and nothing is going to kind of be in this category too, but like, unlike the previous companies we've covered, OnePlus has one flagship and then one flagship light, and I think they're both pretty well positioned and like are good. You know, even with my complaints towards the 15 and therefore also the 15R, I think they are like solid devices that offer good bang for your buck. And I wouldn't really change, you know, all of the changes I would make would kind of just be reverting back to the 13 and the 13R just because I prefer those phones. But that does sort of mean that like OnePlus had its lineup figured out. I think it's a solid lineup.
Well, everything else would say that they didn't have their lineup figured out.
Well, look, the US mobile market is hard. And is...
And that's why we don't do this professionally, because it seems like the companies that are quote unquote doing well from our perspective are the ones that are dying.
Hey, don't spoil that the ending to this is that the real answer is Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. What would you like in a phone? Which is the truth. But you know, we're on to, with OnePlus and Nothing, we're kind of onto the carriers don't sell this, so we don't have to answer to carriers really, which is, you know, for better or worse. And I would argue in both cases, for the futures of those companies, probably worse. I'm sure Nothing, you know, would love to be in a carrier store. And I know OnePlus would, because they used to be. So like, I'm sure they want that back. But yeah, I mean, in terms of changing the lineup of OnePlus's flagships, I think what they're doing, the only thing I would do is bring the T series back over to the US, because now it's essentially just the flagship, but smaller. That would sell 4 units in the US. I totally understand why it's not in North America. If they can't move the big one, they're certainly not going to be able to move the little one. That is not what the average North American smartphone buyer wants. But if I'm wearing my consultant hat, and this is my birthday party and I get to pick what movie we watch, I'm bringing the T series to North America.
That's fair. I mean, it really feels like the last good thing was the 13 series as a whole. Great
series of devices, though. I'm so mad we never got the 13T here, because that is really the one I wanted.
Yeah. I don't know. That was my last experience. I haven't used the 15 series much.
It's sort of just it's a very similar experience to using the 13 in terms of software. Hardware wise, it's just like, imagine if all of the like fun, cool elements of the 13 that set it apart from the pack were just like shaved away, and now you were just kind of holding like a knockoff iPhone. That's kind of how I would describe it.
Let me correct myself. I did use the 15R.
Yeah, so then you get it. It's very similar. Yeah.
It was very hard because of the new software experience for me. That being said, it was fine. I don't know. This is kind of like,
you know what? You're right. I said the software was the same, but like the redesign was a huge problem for me. The underlying features are the same, but like it's such a iOS knockoff.
Yeah, it was like,
no
it was.
Yeah.
I recall it being, and I could be wrong, but I recall it being, liquid glass-esque everywhere, and
portions of it, yeah, and like stuff like the action button UI, they've stolen directly. I like to the point where I'm calling it the action button UI instead of whatever it's called on OnePlus, because it's straight up just the UI Apple made for that button, like 1-to-1.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's tough to talk about the future of OnePlus because I don't know what it is, and I certainly don't know actually how to fix their lineup beyond my own selfish desires to have a smaller flagship.
Yeah, but you lump Nothing in with OnePlus too.
Yeah, so let's talk about Nothing.
They
have one flagship. They've only done one flagship.
Right.
It didn't go well. People didn't like it.
No, that's what makes it so difficult to pin down for them. Is they have a niche following, same as OnePlus, right?
Yes.
Maybe not to the same size, but a lot of the people followed over.
But they're doing a similar thing. OnePlus has always chased after diehard enthusiasts, right?
Right.
And I think Nothing is chasing after. They're closer to the Razr. They're kind of chasing like fashion forward thinkers. Do you know what I mean? Like people who want.
Well, especially with the egg headphones that they just released.
They want it to be a statement piece for the people who agree.
You can see it
in that style
in their marketing images. I mean, that's the kind of the look they're going for. I had in my notes for Nothing at the top, it's just AI written 5 times because
you think they should do more AI?
No, that's what it is now. and something was said recently about AI agents becoming apps, right? I don't know if you recall that. But
yes,
it felt very rabbit to me. And that left a bad taste in my mouth. The idea of, oh, this is gamey. Where the software
rabbit.
is.
It's gamey, you know. You got to cook it right, or it's
well, in a sense, rabbit started off cooked, and they've not recovered since. Really, you're gonna have to edit that out because they don't like.
No,
me.
I'm doubling it. I'm leaving it in and doubling it.
No, they want to create this. Nothing seemingly wants to replace apps with AI agents. You know, why use an app with your own fingers when you can tell an agent what to do? But
just wait 18 minutes, and
what they're not telling you,
can check its work,
is why the real comparison is why type something, or why not tap a couple things with your muscle memory that you're used to doing, or instead you could tap a button, talk to your device, get it wrong because someone was talking behind you, redo it, and then wait 18 minutes for that thing to happen. And then when it does happen, there's like probably a 70% chance that it actually works. Because
is that not how you want your gadgets to work, Andrew? I don't what's the problem?
I don't get is you have a tool, right? Why are you expecting why are you changing the essence of the tool itself? And that's very like old man yells at clouds for me. I know that.
No, it's my whole thing with AI, the part of me that is not anti-AI, but frustrated, let's say, right? Frustrated with the state of this technology is that I'm like, and I've said this before, and I'm sorry for people who are hearing me say it again, but it's like, this stuff should just, like, tools should do their job. If a tool doesn't perform its job, it is fundamentally broken. If you bought a hammer at Home Depot and you took it home, and every sixth nail that you were pounding into whatever, right? You were building whatever. Every sixth nail, it would hit the nail and then just like bend backwards, like rubber. You would not want to use that hammer. You would want to go get you would be like, this hammer sucks. I miss my old hammer.
I'll give you
and that's sort of how I feel right now, where I'm like, okay, sure, I can get AI to replicate the Google search experience I once had, but it takes me 4 times as long, and I'm fact checking everything while I'm doing it. Can't I go back to that old hammer? And Google says, no, we broke the old hammer too.
For me, the comparison, I like that comparison. Let me build on it a little bit.
Sure. Do you need my hammer to build on it?
No, because I'll tell you what it actually is. You go to Home Depot, right? You get your hammer, or your home improvement store of choice. Maybe you're an Ace guy. Get your hammer. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you head to Ace Hardware.
You get your hammer, and every 6th nail, instead of pounding the nail in, it fixes your plumbing, but then it reduces the efficiency of your water by about 10% every time.
Yeah,
and that's what it feels like to me, because it's just a workaround for something that like maybe I wanted but also didn't really want. So It's not doing its job. It's not pointed in the right direction for me. It feels like everyone's just kind of throwing it at the wall because that's what they want and the CEOs want specifically.
And how stretched can we make this hammer metaphor? Let me try more. It's like it's like if all of the hammer manufacturers pulled their current hammers off of store shelves and then they put these new hammers up for sale and they were more expensive, or they were free, but then you had to, like, after like 20 nails, you had to pay a lot and it was a monthly subscription. And also these hammers weren't just advertised for hammering. They were also for fixing your plumbing and for mowing your lawn and for cooking dinner and all. It's like our new hammers are so good, you guys. They'll do anything for you. You're gonna have so much free time with your hammer, and then you try it for that and you're like, it's not very good at this though. It's not great at making eggs.
It only cooks Raisin Bran.
Yeah. Again, we might have stretched this metaphor a little too thin, but someone's enjoying it. I think
in the end, you still want to use the hammer against your own head, but you're advised not to because the hammer told you not to.
This is a long way of saying that nothing needs to chill a little bit, perhaps on the AI future. I mean, like, I get it. Like, if you're a tech company trying to figure out how to actually make money on your smartphone business and in your fledgling smartphone business in 2026, I get the pivot to AI being very tempting, but and like, honestly, even some of Nothing's AI stuff is like, I have very limited use of Nothing phones personally. But when I see and talking to people like Ben Schoen, some of the stuff they have launched that is powered by AI is actually very cool and useful, or at least on paper seems very cool and useful in a way that not every, I don't think I've seen a single Galaxy AI feature where I'm like, hell yeah, man, I need that. But it can only go so far, and like this tech is only so good at so many things, and sometimes trying to use a hammer to make eggs is not always like a great idea. Like maybe, yeah, like you probably could get scrambled eggs by using, a hammer to scramble them eventually. It would take a lot more work than you probably need compared to a whisk or even a fork. Yeah. And so I mean, and then on the hardware side, I sort of think Nothing works best as a mid-range phone manufacturer.
Yeah,
I kind of don't think they need a flagship. Almost.
The 4A Pro, kind of fits that mold, right? And it's, by all accounts, pretty good phone.
I think they have a really good grasp on how to do that, and I don't see the obvious benefit to moving up to their flagship rather than just sticking in their mid-range space and saving that money. I don't think you get, it's like the opposite of what we were talking about with Google. It's like it doesn't immediately become apparent what that price bump gets you.
Yeah. It in the AI thing was more of a glancing comment anyways. It really will just come down to what it can actually do within the basis of Android on those devices. I don't mind where they are now. I just wish I wish there was something a little more flagship, but I also really like the idea of, these design aspects that don't make it to other devices. Like, they're not broad market choices that you'll see. They're very, they fit within that category of like, teenage engineering audio devices or stuff like that. It's that design language that, is very specific, but I like it. And maybe the rear display is gimmicky, but it's cool.
Seemed like a pretty obvious like downgrade almost, which is the other reason where I'm like, you guys might have flown. Like, did you also just fly too close to the sun trying to figure out ways to differentiate this flagship from your mid-range devices? Like, perhaps. And so I don't know. I'm curious to see what their second swing ends up being, but yeah, their AI focus, their AI hardware focus has me a little nervous. I agree with your Rabbit comparison.
Yeah, and I don't know. We're still in that stage, I guess, where a lot of these companies are they have to add AI somewhere to be relevant, and that's unfortunate. But there's a way to do it that works well. And to be
Google's
a Google
doing
shill
it fairly
again.
well. Yeah.
I mean, but it's true because it doesn't feel like it's making your life worse. It's not, at least on the mobile Android side, like the feature side. Like I've said it already, but Magic Q works very well. Gemini for the phone stuff works very well. And it's not like I'm dependent on the AI features. I'm dependent on a lot of the features that Google has had forever, which is, a good call screening that's only been enhanced. A lot of the messaging features, RCS, but that's not only a Google thing, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is a little scary to think about, what the direction some of these companies are going, but we'll see when we get there. As for the lineup itself, it's fine.
There's only one flagship. It's hard to
to pin it down.
Yeah, it's not even like it's not even like OnePlus where they offer one flagship a year, but they have many years doing it. It's like, no, there is one nothing flagship. And even then you could argue it's not a true flagship. So it's a little tricky but I didn't want to leave them off the list because I think it is interesting that they are trying to compete in North America, even at a fairly limited, in a limited fashion.
Yeah. But I mean, North America is such a weird market anyways, and it's not getting easier.
Let's end talking about one of the big reasons it's a weird market, Apple. I just wanted to, we should not spend, we have gone way longer than I thought we would. So we should not spend more than,
this was going to be a quick one.
I thought this was going to be a 45-minute episode. We should not spend more than a few minutes on a company that most of our listeners probably don't care about. But Apple is has been, it's similar to Samsung, and I guess part of that is because Samsung will take inspiration from Apple these days again. Apple's been trying to figure out what to do with their fourth model for when did the iPhone 12 mini come out? 2019. Since the iPhone 12 mini, and they've tried the 12 and 13 mini, and then the 14, 15, 16 plus, right? Or no, maybe I'm missing one, but like lots of pluses, and then on to the Air now, and clearly none of this has converted into sales. People didn't buy the small one. They didn't buy the big one. They don't seem to be buying the thin one. Is it time for Apple to stop trying to sell 4 models? That's my question for you. It seems like what the market is telling them to do.
I think a lot of people are conditioned to think that budget, quote unquote, means too cheap to consider. And I mean, that's not essentially the case, but a lot of these devices that don't have incredible build outs still work properly. It's the ones that are like super underpowered, filled with bloatware, that kind of leave a bad taste in people's mouths for budget devices, I think. But at the same time, Apple's market is conditioned to kind of see the Pro and Pro Max as like the, creme de la creme of devices. And why shouldn't I go for that?
Well, and it's also, I was thinking a lot about it with the Plus specifically. And I looked, it was the 14, 15, 16 were all pluses. They did 3 years of that. It was so easy, I think, for people to look at that $900 phone with its big screen, but worse screen than on the Pros, and big battery, a good battery life, and be like, well, for $1,000 more, I can buy the iPhone blank Pro, and for $200 or $300 more, depending on the year, I can buy the Pro Max, which gives me the same screen, but it's like, or same screen size, but it's way better. I think, in the US, where most people are buying this via carrier, it's really easy to justify even that $300 price jump over 36 months. And that's true for Samsung and Google as well, right, and Motorola to a lesser extent. So I think that just like, there was no reason to not like, for a lot of people to just be like, what, actually, I'll just get the good big one, or I'll just get the good small one even. I think the Air is probably, well, I want the Mini, but the market does not want the Mini. So I'll put that aside. I think the Air is like an interesting option to have because it is different, and they're trying to position it as a different device, even if it sort of exists kind of as like the result of R&D for their foldable. But again, like, people don't seem to buy it. I don't know if they end up just kind of like holding on to this one because at least it's like very visually distinct and impressive, and maybe they can convince some people to buy that over the Pros. But at the end of the day, it's probably one of those things where it's like they should I mean, depending on what the future Airs do, it might just be best for them to collapse this into 3 models plus the cheaper E series.
Yeah, I think if you could get over the battery issues,
yeah,
I think you have a good device. And if you do that, it already felt like a lot of people were hyped about it to begin with, because I heard a lot about
people
it.
Seem to really like the Air. Everybody who has one, I mean, Abner likes it. Like Abner is, like,
yeah, it's
people who have one. Our previous guest on this podcast, Allison at The Verge, just wrote an article about how much she likes her Air, and I think she brought that up on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. But whether that transitions into other people being converted, I think remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think it's a good baseline. I don't know. It's a tricky one because Samsung obviously said, forget this. We're moving on from it. At least at the time, you don't know we don't know yet what they plan on releasing in future series or launches, but the Air felt like, at least at launch, a lot of people were excited, and like I heard a lot of conversation around it. So usually that means, as long as it isn't like utter garbage, then it'll stick around at least for a little bit. I don't know. I heard less about, Plus and the device point. The point that I'm trying to make with it is I don't have recent experience with a lot of the budget-ish devices.
Yeah.
iPhones. But
no, I mean, I reviewed the 16E and was pretty underwhelmed, but the 17E, which I have not used, does seem like it fixed. At least one of my big problems was the lack of MagSafe, and that is obviously fixed. So like, at the very least, I would probably appreciate it a little bit more. But the 16E felt designed for an Apple Intelligence world that did not exist. That entire every you could feel that every choice they made on what spec to emphasize versus what not to was built around the idea of like Apple Intelligence mattering, and it doesn't. And I don't know if it ever will. But yeah, the 17E is probably a better phone than that. I think I gave the 16E a 7 out of 10 at Android Police when I reviewed it. And I'd probably give, just on paper, if it's the same phone with MagSafe, it probably scores an extra half a point. Which Samsung, take note.
Isn't it crazy how that works?
Put a feature in that I like. I mean, dude, I use, like, when I'm like weightlifting, I have like a double-sided magnetic like clamp stand thing that like I just slap on the one side, hits the squat rack, one side hits the phone and holds the phone there, and so I always know where my phone is while I'm like lifting. It's such a no-brainer feature. It's cool. People like it. I don't get it. I don't understand.
One of the best MagSafe accessories I ever got was a MagSafe mount specifically for the metal bars on golf carts. Just for when I'm playing, I can throw it up and have it, in front of me. And it's crazy how strong the magnets are, because it doesn't matter what bumps you go over, the thing is sticking to it. And it's kind of insane how well built those are. And I just can't shake not wanting it or shake wanting it for every device, because it had so much utility.
Much utility. I agree. I'm going to make one suggestion on Apple, and then we're going to wrap up. The phone that, when I talk to iPhone people, like casual iPhone people, not enthusiasts, not nerds, just like normal everyday people, is the 5C comes up like all the time. That was Apple's first attempt at a cheaper iPhone. It would have launched in 2012, I think. 11, 12, something like that. And 12 has to be 12. And it was plastic, and it was unapologetically plastic, I think was the line, and it was colorful. And I think I think Apple should do more colors. I think Apple should release, like, Apple should lean on the fact that they are a massive brand that has like essentially infinite manufacturing ability, and just make they should do Moto Maker. Honestly, they should do Moto Maker. That would be, I would buy a Moto Maker iPhone. Like, I know I would. You could call me, you could be like, fake Android fan over here, but like, I know I would because I have the money for it as an adult that I didn't as a college student. I would do it. I will buy. Actually, open invite to any company out there. If you design a phone with a Moto Maker-esque tool, it's got to be as flexible as Moto Maker, if not more. I'll buy your phone. I will buy a phone from you. And that includes Apple. That's my pitch.
Yeah, I missed.
They'll never do it.
I miss that tool a lot.
That's why I'm not a real consultant. Anything to add, Andrew?
No, I mean, this has been a weird one for me, because it's just.
That's why it's a bonus round.
Just in general, though, trying to figure out what we do differently for each device, or not device, but lineup is.
It's an interesting, to me, it's an interesting way to look at these product lineups. And I hope people were interested in looking at these product lineups with us through this lens, not through the lens of a reviewer necessarily, but more of a, like, what would shape this product line to be best for, like, consumers, even, right? Like, looking at it a little bit more through the lens of executives or anything making these decisions, managers making these decisions on how devices are shaped. Like, I think is really interesting. And obviously you and I have not done it at a professional level, and this is not how they do it. But I do think it is interesting to, like, look and be like, we use these phones. We know people who use these phones. We recommend or don't recommend these phones to a lot of people in and outside of our immediate circle. And I think there is a certain level of, like, going, to come full circle. It's like, it's very easy for you and I to be like, Samsung cut the Plus. The Plus has, like, it doesn't make any sense. You might as well just drop it and either streamline your selections or have something in its place that's a little more interesting. But, like, as it stands, it's like bigger and more cumbersome than the regular, S26, but it's not as fully featured as the not that much more expensive Ultra. Like, you have it in this place where it doesn't, there's no reason for it to be there, so you might as well scrap it. And I don't know. I hope this has been, like, a rewarding listening experience, and I'll find that out when I listen to it back myself. But yeah, that's sort of, like, where I am at this, is that sometimes maybe it's best for these companies to invite, I was going to say normal people, but that's not what this job is. To invite people who are, like, outside their circles to look at their product lineups and be like, this is working, this isn't working, you should do this. And that's why I'm excited to announce that this is spinning into a full-time consulting firm. Andrew's my first employee. He doesn't know it yet. I don't pay well, by the way.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Anything else to add, Andrew?
No, he hit it. I mean, as a consumer,
any big picture stuff, anything on any of the brands, anything. We're a full hour longer than I thought we would be. Okay. Anyway, anything else? No,
for the sake of what little time there is left. No, I think it's been well covered.
Thank you for coming on to do this. I think I had a lot of fun doing this. I think the reason we went an hour over is because I was having a lot of fun. I hope you were too.
Yeah, it's tangential for sure, but
yeah. Well, there's really not much happening right now, honestly. In tech, I add after the fact. Where can people find you?
Same place. I'm here at 9to5 Google. You can find me on my socials on Twitter /X. Chaos Romero. Andrew also
sits he sits in this Riverside studio, and at any point, if you find the link, you can open it and he'll just be there and it'll be like, oh, hey, and you can just have a chat with Andrew.
Yeah, I'm like a telehealth consultant, but just for podcasting. Always here.
Andrew, thank you so much. We will have you back on some other time for me to torment you with a thing I think of randomly on a Wednesday morning and throw at you and make you do.
Perfect. I'm excited for it.
And that'll do it for this week's Sideload. Once again, thank you to Andrew for joining me for what ended up being a very long Friday afternoon conversation. I thought it was a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Go check out everything Andrew is working on over at 9to5Google. As always, you can find, rate, and review us on the podcast platform of your choice. Share the show with a friend if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to 9to5Google on YouTube, where you can find full video versions of every episode of the Sideload. As always, the best place to reach me is will@9to5mac.com. Feedback is always welcome, as are guest suggestions. And if you haven't, go listen to 9to5Google's other podcast, Pixelated, where Damian, Abner, and myself chat about the week's news through a Google and pixel-friendly lens. That's it for this week. We will see you in the next one. Bye.